When it comes to the New Hampshire primaries and his victory there, we have a victory at Iowa. How does that factor into Trump's arguments going forward on the legal front? Does that make a difference in terms of him being closer to the nomination at all in your mind?
You know, it's fascinating, and I wonder if you have the same sense that I do. Much of Trump's arguments seem better suited for the political arena than for the legal one. His defenses have been pretty slender. In this most recent case involving E. Jean Carroll, he really didn't have a defense. And so I think most of what we're hearing him argue is geared more towards voters than towards juries.
I agree with you. And I think that one of the things that people have sort of missed is that at this point, Donald Trump, the candidate, is almost inseparable from Donald Trump, the the defendant, because it's one and the same. His campaign stops are being treated as a way to sort of argue in the court of public opinion, and then his court stops are being treated as a way to try and speak to sort of, the public about, as a candidate, how he's being persecuted. Catherine, one of the things that I love about talking to folks like us is that we're all trial attorneys. We've all been in the courtroom. Tell me, if you are game planning and you are Jack Smith and you're trying to figure out, based off of what you've seen now, around how Donald Trump and his attorneys are maneuvering the narrative, does it change your strategy at all if you're preparing to prosecute him in any of the federal cases, be it D.C. or Mar-a-Lago in Florida?
No, well, we know that Jack Smith, though that case has been stayed, has already filed a motion before Judge Chutkan, a motion in limine, asking that the judge preclude Donald Trump and his lawyers for turning the trial into a campaign political circus. So we have seen what he has done when he has appeared in New York civil fraud trial. He got up and was allowed to give a portion of his closing argument and use that to trash the judge and talk about it being a witch hunt. We've seen his statements outside of court. So Jack Smith, the special counsel, they're geared up and are letting Judge Chutkan know to beware. And Judge Chutkan also watches, I'm sure, TV and reads the news, to not allow that circus that he brings outside of the courtroom into the courtroom. Judge Kaplan, who was on the Jean Carroll case, effectively shut him down. And I think if the Judge Chutkan case goes, the January 6th case, she will do the same.
So, Joyce, this morning, Nikki Haley's on Meet the Press, and she was asked about Donald Trump's legal troubles and how they could affect her standing in the race. Let's take a listen to what she had to say.
I've never stayed in this race because of court cases. Really, I don't know what all the court cases are. I haven't paid attention to what he's won, what he's lost, what he's fighting for, any of that. What I know is, the first one came down, and he spent a lot of time ranting about how he lost that court case.
Is there any chance that any of these cases somehow have the potential to affect what goes on in the campaign trail for the other candidate? I would say candidates, but now we're talking about a two-person race effectively.
So Catherine makes this wonderful point about how judges and prosecutors learn every time they see Trump in court, right? Now they know what to expect from him. They're prepared. That doesn't seem to happen in the political arena. And Nikki Haley, who could be taking a very different tact here and distinguishing herself from Donald Trump, the candidate, by saying, look at me. I've never been indicted by any, federal prosecutor or state prosecutor, is not willing to do that. There's still so much allegiance to Trump. There's still such a willingness to pander to his base. It would be refreshing to see a Republican, any Republican, come out and make the point that's obvious to all of us now, that this is a man who's been held civilly liable for a sexual assault, essentially a rape, someone who's been indicted for mishandling classified secrets and for being involved in an insurrection, an effort to interfere with the smooth transfer of power. But we don't see that happening.
I really find that interesting. And there's so much that we're looking at, and you're wondering when, if ever, this is going to register on the scale in terms of the criminal or the legal leaning over to the political. And I'm not sure it is.